Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Rainmaker Show. It's Greg Mack, your host for today's episode, and wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Hope everybody's excited about 2019 and it's got their goals set and their passion focused and their mission written, and you're ready to accomplish it and start working towards it a little bit every day. And so hopefully I can contribute to that with some of the content here in the Rainmaker Show, which is designed to supplement and complement the Rainmaker 201 course available through MadLab. And if you're listening to this and you haven't pulled the trigger on getting that course, all I can tell you is, not that I'm biased or anything, right? Get on it. There's a lot of great content there in the Rainmaker 201 program on the Web Hub to help you with your prospecting, suspecting, interviewing, communication process for helping this person, this stranger called you or walked into your gym, make a decision about whether or not what you offer and how you serve them makes sense for their situation, and so that a clean, fully disclosed decision can be made and everybody knows what they're getting into, eyes wide open, without regrets, right? Which in sales is called buyer's remorse. And so picking up where we left off from the last couple episodes, talking about decision science, one of the key steps in the Rainmaker course, which comes from the Sandler Institute model, is decision making. And how does someone go to make a decision to buy a gym membership or a personal training session or whatever it might be? And as you've heard me say before, I encourage you not to sell gym memberships. Don't sell personal training sessions. What the suspect prospect is buying into is, or making the decision to buy into, is a professional working relationship with you to help them identify and solve whatever physical issue they want to address in terms of their health and wellness or sports performance or whatever it is. And then incidental to that, or what supports that decision to work with you professionally, is, oh, there's some personal training sessions, there's a gym membership, there's Group X programming, there's specialty programs. And these are all tools that you're going to bring to the table as the professional, helping them solve their issue problems and move them towards their wellness goals. So keep that in mind, because it's a fundamental difference in the way the consumer thinks about it from a commodity mindset, right? Which is you're a retail shelf item that they're choosing from a whole variety of retail shelf items, often just looking for the cheapest one, thinking there's equivalence across all gyms, all trainers, all Group X classes, right? And this is simply not the case, unfortunately. And the commodity mindset doesn't help them and doesn't help you. So be prepared for it. It's out there. We just got to get the conversation moving in a direction where they're actually considering you as a professional relationship versus just somebody who sells tickets to gyms and rental agreements to gyms and personal training sessions, right? So we've been talking about decision science. We talked about framing. I think we talked about prospect theory, one of the theories that economists and game theorists and people in decision science talk about in terms of how individuals evaluate risk, because that's, again, what really is going on when someone's making a buying decision, is what's the risk of giving my money, giving my time, and how much uncertainty is there to that. And, unfortunately, the modern customer always wants absolute certainty and guarantees in case what they want doesn't happen. And in the areas of health and wellness and fitness and physiological adaptations, there's so much going on there that you don't have control over. You can't guarantee the outcome of anything. And if you are, I would caution you to stop doing that. You cannot guarantee someone's going to lose weight, because you can't control what's in their mouth most of the time, and what their activity level is outside of what they do in the gym, right? So guarantees in the health wellness business, not a great idea. So what is expected utility theory? That's the theory that I wanted to just briefly introduce to you. Encourage you to go online if you want to dig deeper into this theory. But this theory is a hypothesis in economics, primarily, that the utility of an agent, which is your prospect or suspect, facing uncertainty, which the vast majority of the time they are, is calculated. The utility of something is calculated by considering each possible state and then constructing a weighted average of those states. And so the weighting is the agent's estimate of the probability of each state. So if someone's looking, to get well through physical activity, how many things can they use? Video, a DVD, and do it at home. They can join Peloton, the cycling, and now Peloton has a treadmill component. This is a rapidly growing home-based exercise process, right? They can choose down the street gym membership where they just walk in and do whatever they want and leave again. They can choose you, someone who is going to be their professional lifelong coach, right? And so they're looking at all the utility of the usefulness of these particular choices, and that's based on the consequences and the probability that they get what they want from each choice. And so it's about probability theory in that regard, and what's the probability that they get their health, wellness, physical, emotional needs met from the Peloton thing, from the rented local equipment gym thing, from hiring a professional coach thing. So, in the formal mathematical sense, to determine utility or usefulness, according to this method of expected utility, the decision maker must rank their preferences according to the outcomes of various decision options. And so it's a way that you can begin speaking about how to make a decision in the decision step with a prospect or suspect, by helping them flush out and identify and specify what their preferences are, and then talk about how those choices, those preferences, if they made the choice towards that preference, would create the outcome that they want. And so, it's transitivity is what it's called, right? So if someone prefers Peloton over the local big box gym, but they prefer the big box gym over a local Orange Theory Group X membership, then there has to be some consistency about that, right? And specificity about choosing A over B and choosing B over C, which means you would choose A over C, or however that might work. So that's what's important about expected utility theory from a mathematical perspective. So the way that rational decision making unfolds in expected utility theory is a multiple of all the probabilities of the occurrence of these outcomes. And really, it's the probability of winning multiplied by the amount to be won. And so that's why, in the system that we're talking about, the pain step comes before the budget and the decision step. Is we need to know what winning means before we start talking about how much and how to make the decision to do that. So when you flip that over and start talking about the money first, then you're backtracking and trying to fill in and justify the winning to match the money. So we're going to look at what it means to win, and then we can talk about how to make decisions to make the best choices to how to get there and win. So there's a whole bunch of things called completeness and, again, transitivity that state that every action has to be ranked in an order of preference, and hopefully indifference between two or more is possible. Transitivity meaning that if action A is preferred to action B and action C is preferred to action D, then A has to be preferred to action C, right? So just to give you a rough example of how that works. So strict preferences are ideas that if you prefer A to B, you'll always not get B because you want A. In some models, a weak preference can be held in which an individual has a preference for at least something in the A set, similar to the mathematical operator, less than or equal to. So indifference occurs when an individual doesn't prefer A to B or B to A. So to summarize all that craziness, right? Expected utility equals the weighted values, the what's important by hierarchy for both the decision maker and the stakeholder. And then they add in the external value variables, the things that are impinging on the decision that neither the decision maker or the stakeholder can control. So this is why it's so important and why I spend so much time in Rainmaker 201 helping you as the professional establish your own value and preference set and prioritize what's most important and second most important and third most important and least important. So you know what that is as you enter decisions with another person. And so that's important. And then the interview process is designed to flesh out the prospect or suspect's values and preferences and what all the external variables are that are part of the decision that neither party can actually control or manipulate, but are impinging on the final conclusion. And so that's what I always ask practitioners and coaches is, what are your professional values and preferences? What do you prefer? What do you value? Communication, timeliness, accountability, commitment, cleanliness. Make the list. What's important to you as a coach as it relates to a potential client? And then your interviewing process is designed to flush out what's important to them. And if there's a big difference between your values and preferences, you're going to have a problem, right? The decision's probably going to be you shouldn't work together. And that's why that's so important. And so, in summary, decision science and framing and risk, those are the big ideas. Prospect theory talks about risk aversion and risk-seeking behavior in economic agents and game theory. Expected utility theory is about trying to figure out the decision maker's preference ranking along with the stakeholders' preference rankings so that you can figure out what's most important and least important, see how they match up, and then figure out, yes, this makes sense to go forward. No, it's too far apart. We can't move forward because our preferences are not matching up. So, quick summary on expected utility theory. Again, you want to check it out in more detail. There's lots of stuff online and books available to help you figure out some more depth and breadth of that particular economic theory if you want to dig into it deeper. But take-home message is figure out your own values and preferences as a professional coach and what you want, what you don't like, and what's important and what's not. Make that clear to yourself. Find out what the values and preferences are of your suspect or prospect. Start matching that stuff up. Figure out what's going to impinge on the decision that affects it, that neither of you can control, external variables, which could be disease, scoliosis, some kind of pathology. So that's what we're talking about. Good luck. 2019, this is your year to get great competencies at meeting strangers in your community, starting conversations and transactions with them, and starting to see whether or not you guys could be a good fit together professionally to help achieve high levels of health and wellness.